right, everyone, welcome back for I Would Like to Have a Conversation. We're up to episode 15, and this one we're with Savannah, and she's a person I coached about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, and in this episode we talk about burnout. So what do you guys think about that?
I think it's cool.
It's cool. It's not that cool. Burnout's not that cool. It's when you get really tired, you don't want to do anything. That's not that cool.
I don't know what it means.
That's true. He doesn't know what that means. He shouldn't really feel it yet. There you go. What do you reckon, Ruby? I don't know. It's holidays. We've been in-house. It's been wet. It's been boring. And we're at the end of our tether. You looking forward to going back to school?
No.
Alright. So see you, everybody.
Bye.
Hey everyone, welcome back to I Would Like to Have a Conversation. And today I've got Savannah on. Savannah?
Sav, actually.
Sav actually is way better.
Yes.
I'm really good. If you listen to the other episode, I'm good at butchering names. That's always quality starts to the episode. I worked with you last year? It was like a year and a half ago? With Stip Online Clients and with James. And I loved working with you. We had just really cool conversations. It was fun. It was energetic. And we stopped working together for a while. And then I think you reached out to me, I reached out to you. We were just checking in on each other. And something you touched on, which I think is really I want to talk about today. And kind of like the idea of burnout. I've been through it. You've been through it. But first, before we get into that really uplifting conversation, do you want to tell us a little bit about you, what you do, where you're from, all that cool?
Yeah. So, Sav, or Savannah, but the Aussie accent's fine. Hailing from little old New Zealand. And yeah, I've been in the fitness space for 10 years now. Kind of dipped in and out. But been in again for the last 4 years. Been online for the last 3 or 4. And when I'm not working, which I'll be honest, need that better work-life balance. I'm cooking, climbing, hanging out with my dog, just being a normal 30-year-old with all the injuries included. So that's me.
It's got the hiking and climbing thing. I remember when we were all doing stuff together, and you're like, it feels like what we're doing is a lot. So this is good to start off with. It's this myth, I feel, when say I don't know what it's like for you. I'll go to a party and I go, what do you do for work? I'm like, I work online and I'm a personal trainer. Like, oh, that must be so nice. It must be the easiest job in the world. I don't really try and change their mind on it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
technically it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
And challenging. In-person coaching especially, actually both, to be honest, but when I'm having a conversation with someone, and it was a client, he's like, I'm thinking about coming to PT. I'm like, how come? He was like, I just love training. And I'm like, I get that, but you're going to have less time for training when you become a PT because you feel like you'll need to train more people and help other people than yourself. Do you kind of get the same thing?
I do for in person, but since going online, I think I look at it as which I don't know is positive or negative, but I view my gym session as an obligation. Got to walk the walk. Whereas when I was doing a lot of face-to-face training, then it's just get me out the gym because no one wants to spend their spare time in their office.
Yeah.
So that was tricky, but since going online, that separation's there and going to the gym can be my time. Like I said, sometimes definitely you got to get your ass to the gym because otherwise your clients are going to pass you. And then you're going to be the one that needs to kick up the ass. But yeah, I do find just making it a priority help with everything.
I agree. It's kind of like stacking. And the proof thing too.
I feel like a fraud if you don't go.
Yeah, imposter syndrome creeps in really quick. Nearly every coach has imposter syndrome of some kind. Doesn't take for much for it to kick in. Even we were talking before about our niggles at the moment. And I've got the idea, you're not really adventuring much if you don't have some kind of a niggle. But I feel I get that the impostery thing creeping in when I have an injury. because I can't do the shit I want to do. And I'm like, am I really this person or not? And I'm like, it's just stupid. It's just a niggle. But
Yeah.
swing it back around. But now, do you want to walk through your, like, how it kind of played out, what it looked like for you? Because a lot of parents listen to this, but there's also a lot of people who are parents listening who want to create a career in their passion or have just like a feeling like they're leading to burning out or in burnout or have experienced before. I think it's a good combo to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you think like getting into a job that you really love, which I do, and I never take for granted. Like at the end of the day, I've got a job I like showing up to, which is the most important thing. That said, when you get into something you really love, or at least with my experience, it's easy to overdo it because suddenly you're like, well, I could do a million and one things because it's going to benefit me. Whereas if I was doing like a million and one things for someone else, I'd be like, wait, it's 5 o'clock. I'm not working. Like, don't message me. I'm going, you know? Whereas I think it's easy for me to flip into this mode of like, just keep going, take on another project, new idea. And I think that's that creative spirit, right? Like you don't get into business if you don't have some kind of like creator mindset. And so I'm always thinking of like new things, but I've really got to practice reining it in so that I don't act on every single thing I try and like create. Otherwise, yeah, I basically just slip into this like little fizzle. And so last year, my partner and I moved from Auckland down to the South Island. Best move ever. But at the time, I was doing like yoga classes in person. I was doing face-to-face PT. I was doing online coaching, and I was traveling. I don't even know, like 4 hours a day for all of this, maybe 5 hours.
What?
Like,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I was all over Auckland doing like yoga classes and mobile PT. So
yeah. Yep.
it was rough. And when we moved, I like just made the decision to cull everything back. And I don't think at the time I realized I was experiencing like a little bit of burnout. Like I had taken on too much. I just thought, okay, this is a chance to like reset. And so I thought things would like get better, but they actually kind of got worse because I think I stopped running on adrenaline because I suddenly had this time. I was like trying to integrate it, so to speak. And then, yeah, was like, I'm just going to go all in on online. Like, no one's going to see me in person for a year because I just need to focus on one thing. And that was great. But then having a few like big months where I'm impacting lots of people and new people coming in, like, I quickly realized I hadn't given myself enough time to actually decompress and chill. And it was only after the fact that I realized I was in burnout. So I'd already started to kind of like come out of the hole before I even realized I was in the hole because I was just like, normal. Normal to be like tired. It's normal to feel stressed. That, you're running a business. Of course, like, XYZ kind of justifying the exhaustion and then realizing like, you need to just take a chill pill.
You hit on something really good there. It's like some people don't know. We're using the term burnout loosely, but most people, not most, some people wouldn't know they're in it because they don't know what good feels like, which is a really tough one. Like even with our journal prompts for myself to like making sure I don't go too far into the hole because of my personality type. If I'm excited by something, I'm going to let it rip and go hard, and then I'll just fall off the wagon that cooked me. But what does good feel like? And it took me a while to even feel like write it down to know what good felt like. And what did good feel like for you as you were coming out? Did you know, or is it still like a learning process?
I think it's always a learning process, but I've got a very similar journal prompt and something I say to myself as often as possible, as often as I remember, is like, what would it look like if it was easy? And it helps me just simplify everything. Like, what would my relationship look like if it was easy? what would my training look like if it was easy? What would my business look like if it was easy? And then making decisions from that point, which is usually subtraction rather than adding more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't normally have to go like, babe, let's go on 1,000,001 date nights this week. It's like quality time. In my business, it's like, I probably don't need 18 million programs for 18 million people. And you talk to one person, build a community around that, and again, simplify, take away. So I don't think I did realize until, I would say it had peaked around October last year, the 2023 October. And then maybe February, I started to feel like, oh, that's what happened. And granted, I made a lot of decisions over the last year that have all led to kind of starting to feel better, which is like making sure I'm actually doing stuff for me that doesn't go on Instagram. I don't talk to my clients about, like going on midweek mission up the hills, just for me. Like I realized I wasn't taking time I was exercising, I was eating well, like I was ticking the boxes, but there was a like connection piece missing, doing things just for the fun of it, like just fucking around and finding out. I didn't have that. Shit, I'm really missing that. So adding that in was fantastic. Making sure I like milk my business, if you will. Like I can take a Wednesday off. If I want to go hike, I can do that. Like that's a privilege and something I've made for myself, you know? So kind of peering myself away from the desk, doing things I love. And then I also changed my diet completely. So I don't know if you
Go ahead.
yeah,
Tell
I
me.
was vegan for like 9 years. And then last year, just as I went vegan overnight when I was like 20, I went not vegan overnight. Yeah. And I feel fantastic. So like, I think it's just the basic, you know, of like eating a well-balanced diet, getting sunshine, having work-life balance. Like I'm still figuring it out, but it's been a good stepping stone.
So
I feel like I'm,
yeah, and did you get blood tests done when you before flipping back?
yeah. And my blood tests have always been fine.
Yeah, the doctor's fine in the whatever the range is. There's actually
That I had like all these hormonal issues to
Mm.
crop up as well. So it wasn't just like my brain was feeling it, my body was feeling it. Like suddenly, this wasn't TMI for anyone, but like my cycles had always been really fine. Like I could go through a month, I was strong, I was energetic, I slept well, like never any issues, very lucky. And then suddenly I was getting all this pain and these cramps, and I like became existential one day a month where I just was like, this, like very dark. I'm like, this isn't right. And so I started to kind of, and again, still piecing it all together, but I was just like, there's some signs here that you're not healthy. You got to sort them.
it's interesting. I literally just listened to a podcast yesterday about this. It was a running one, and she was able to do her running and everything. Hadn't had a cycle for ages, and was able to show up and do stuff, but her energy was just dumping. It was just the easy pace was getting slower and slower and slower and slower. He just couldn't figure out why. And her thing ended up being an iron issue where I can't remember the ranges they said, but hers was like her ferritin was like 6.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they reckon athletes could be up around the 100 mark.
Yeah. I got put on ferritin last year. Like,
Mhm.
oh, maybe your iron's a little bit low, but I'll be honest, like nothing changed.
Yeah.
I'm sure it helped me. Like I
Mm.
know when you're deficient in something, like of course you, but I don't think it was like the thing. But it is, you know, a lot of women do experience like low iron, low energy, low fatigue, whether it's a vitamin thing in your blood or it's like a lifestyle thing. And I think with our day and age now, it's so hard to discern like what could be causing that. because your body
Yeah.
drains and depletes itself when it is stressed, not just because you're not eating like leafy green.
Yeah. I think this would be cool, actually. What were the dominoes that you started knocking over in like, so you said you went from vegan back to not vegan overnight. It's super crazy. I don't throw stones at like people who do vegan or whatever. It is what it is. But the flip back when it usually happens is usually pretty high. And there's ways you can mitigate it and make vegan work and all that kind of stuff. And was yours like a lifestyle reason? Like,
Um,
or
I
was it
mean,
a-
long story short, I got really sick when I was like 20. And during that recovery time, again, like still actually don't know what happened. Doctors thought it might have been meningitis.
Mm.
It was inconclusive. I thought I was in the hospital for like 3 weeks. My mum goes, no, you were there for like 3 days. And I just had no collection. So I don't know what happened. Meningitis is like some sort of viral
Mm.
closest thing. Anyway, when I was like on, bed rest, recovering from that, YouTube,
Yeah.
I was just binging like this high carb, low fat vegan lifestyle. And at the time I had I was definitely getting into fitness and like trying to lose weight and being like your typical girl that starts trying to be as skinny as possible. And this vegan lifestyle was kind of, spouted as like the holy grail of eat as much as you want, don't get fat. I was like, whack it. And then the more I got into it, the more I was like, wow, I feel amazing. And of course you would, because like you're literally detox.
Yeah. Yeah. The first,
so-
yeah, good.
I felt great for like 4 years. And then
Mhm.
the next 4 or 5 years, I started to feel shit. But I mean, overarching theme here is like, I just thought I was invincible. I
Mm.
thought I was the one that worked through the night. I thought I was the one that could make the vegan diet work. I thought I was the one that didn't need work-life balance. Like, it's so, I don't know if that answers your question about the dominoes, but like, I think at least again, from me, my experience is that I somehow believe that I'm superhuman and like
Mhm.
I can just push through and grind through the crap diet, through the like everything that is pointing to, hey, you need balance. And so the first domino effect really was like the fatigue. I would say my energy just tanking. I was just like,
Okay.
wow, I'm flat. And then that kind of spurred everything else on. And the last thing was like, you haven't changed your diet, which is weird being a nutritionist because you'd think that's the place you look. But again, what I was doing it like, well, didn't think to change. And then I was like, you know what, fuck, I'm turning 30 in a few months. Like, let's spend the next 3 months eating whatever you want and just see how you feel. You can always go back. And
How how long did it take for you to start feeling good? Like,
honestly, like, 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah, for us.
Physically, mentally, still very drained. But
Mhm.
physically, I was like, wow, I'm not waking up at 10 a.m. Like, not waking up at 10 a.m. But I'd wake up, walk the dog, come home, wouldn't get back into bed.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
and I was just sitting here trying to do work all day and just feeling like the most insane brain fog, the most insane just fatigue. And like, yeah, I just didn't feel myself. I just felt so disconnected. And I think within 6 to 8 weeks, I was like, wow, I actually feel like I can go and do something and stay awake through the day, you know?
But it's
Just that.
no, it is. Yes, it is. It's kind of. It just brought up a memory for me. It was like something like when you do a big event, running wise, and you're the recovery week. They're like the question's always like, when should I start training again? And it's like when your body says yes, or when your mind says yes, which is kind of cool in what you said, where it's like it took kind of 8 weeks till you were like, I guess your brain was still kind of foggy, but your body's like, I'm ready to do stuff. So it
Mm.
kind of told you, I'm ready to go. How did you manage your training through that time? Because we're PTs, our compass is literally training. We without the comforts, we're
You
like,
know?
oh. So how'd you
Um,
sort of manage that?
I mean, I just feel like last year was a shit show because then I got injured and it was like, you got to sit on the couch because I basically broke my ankle. I didn't break it, better off breaking. But brain was so bad that I then like actually couldn't move, which again was not good for me. It's not great for being like, come on, client, let's push hard when I'm literally like not able to wash myself to shower, you know? Like I couldn't stand up. It was like, this is rough. But I managed my training by like just focusing on what I could. Pull-ups, upper body, just staying connected to, I think, and not letting it be an excuse of like not letting my fatigue be an excuse because I knew that doing nothing wasn't gonna make me any more energized. And then with my injury being like, fine, you can't walk, cycle, do push-ups, so you can, just stay active in that way. So
I kind of like that. So
yeah,
it's like reframing it to like what you could do instead of worrying.
it's always something,
Yeah.
we're pretty privileged. It's not like I got some disease, like I snapped my ankle,
Yeah.
and I was feeling a bit under the weather. And it was just like my responsibility to go, maybe you should get your shit together without just, like looking beyond just the right things. Like maybe you need to just pull back. And in a way, maybe pulling back on training also helped because it allowed me to like reassess my relationship with exercise and what I truly wanted to like get better at and perform in and like set maybe new goal, because climbing was kind of taken off the cards. It's like, right, well, what's next? What a privilege to even think like I can do something else. So I think being flexible and always thinking like I can figure it out. I think we've gone on like all of these tangents, but it all comes back to just like, it's your fucking responsibility to feel your best. And like, if something's not working, figure out why.
Yeah.
Stop doing that thing and then like find something else, like burnout, injuries, all of these things. You can work around them, it's not the end of the world. And I think I just had to keep reminding myself of that. Like, you're in a really privileged position to even have a job that you care about so much.
Yeah. Yes.
Privileged to have a sport that you injured yourself in because you love it so much and you go so hard. Like, where can I put that energy now? Like, that's
Yeah.
my mentality.
It's kind of, I like it because sort of the same myself with the injury I've got now, where
Yeah.
I believe I picked it up from playing a senior game, but I'm 39. Like the fact that I was able to get into the seniors, yes, it was like the stars aligning or injury players out. I'm not counting that. I got in there. Not got injured. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And then, and I got a goal that game too. It's just a shame that I got a niggle since then. But I do like the idea, and this is kind of cool for people listening. It's like the state, it might sound weird, but the state you're in, it sounds really bad. But whatever state you're in right now, you flip it into like a problem solving tool. Like what is the things I've got to figure out to get to what feels good? Your brain starts working out on how to figure it out. It's just what the brain wants to do, wants to solve problems. So you reframe whatever's going on into cool. What are the things what are the dominoes I can start knocking over to start moving away? So going back, you flipped your diet. And you did bloods beforehand and then you flipped your diet and then bloods after? Was there a bit of a gap between them?
I actually haven't done bloods after. So a lot of people listen to this and be like, wow, that's a lot of anecdotal bullshit. But it truly is. And I feel better and you can't knock that. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, very evidence-based. Like, don't get me wrong, as a coach, always thinking, how can we be evidence-based and ethical? But at the same time, like recognizing that you're sometimes the best source of information for what's going on for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, when things are going good, I think too, because the brain likes to like overcomplicate, overthink things. Again, it's like, what would it look like if this was easy? Well, maybe I just need to not think so hard about why I feel good and just enjoy it. Like,
Yes.
let's go. Do you know what? What I'm doing right now is helping. Like, let's not do that. Just keep doing the things that make me feel good, you know, and tweaking from there rather than everything being this big, like, deep and meaningful experience of, getting to the root cause of everything. I'm like, you know what? I'd love to know what happened. I'd love to know why I felt the way I did. I have ideas. My lifestyle wasn't lined up. My diet wasn't lined up. But now I've started to make moves in the right direction. Like, feels good. Don't question it. Don't touch it.
Yeah. It's kind of like N=1 kind of stuff. There's like the stuff we know in science that we know and what we learn and everything that we know we need to probably do. And it's still N=1. Like, you're an individual person. I don't like saying special snowflake, but technically you are. And it's kind of like, let's go down the lens of like training females in the gym. When for ages we were taught to train females the same way we train men. But it's very simple for men. It's like, do X, get Y. Like, it literally is, that's how
Forever.
it's forever. Yeah, we don't have to change anything.
Yeah.
And now it's like the last probably 10 years, or really the last 5, where it's like, it doesn't work the same for females. So that's where it's like, that is when it's N=1. Because the way I would say, like, when I talk to my sister about her training will be different the way I would talk to you, because the way her lifestyle hormonal system is working, it's going to take a certain type of training. Same with yours. And I think like what you said is like, what feels good, like such a good marker. And it can be a catch-all too for those A-type personalities who, say, CrossFitters, who just will destroy themselves for that endorphin hit, because that feels good. So there is that cap. So for me personally, I am that type. Obviously, it's easy for me. I don't have to worry about all the hormonal stuff. I'm just a dude. I can just show up and do it. All I got to do is make sure I eat enough. And then, but that's something to keep in mind. Like, do what feels good, but not chasing the endorphins or dopamine. But what makes you feel good throughout the day, not the immediate moment, not those quick fixes. It's like, what is the general feel good? So making that clarification, I think, would be probably good for people to hear, because we speak social media, we go on that for a quick and dopamine hit. Like, it feels good for about 20 minutes. And then it just starts, then we start dipping down and it goes the other way, even though we still stay on it. And like, I fall into this trap all the time too. Everyone does. That's what they're built for. It's not like we're shit people because we do. I'm getting lost in a tangent here, aren't I? It's like a Tarantino movie. Bringing it back. So we flip the food. You started feeling good. You were managing your training to sort of make yourself feel good. Like, is that what you kind of did? Like, pull back training intensity heaps and just started doing things that made you feel good as well?
Yeah. Well, I think turning 30 also had like a big impact. I wasn't expecting it to, but I was like, shit, okay. You did. It kind of hit me. And with my injury, I've been in a very much like, okay, you can just kind of figure out like, one, what you can do, focus on your rehab, but then also just maybe play around with different styles of training. Because I had been doing powerlifting last year, and then trying to balance that with bouldering. Not that I'm any good, but like, I love it. I'll throw myself at it. I'm in a place where I'm like trying to figure out how training is serving me at the moment. And a lot of that just like trialing out the workouts and the programs that are right for my clients, which is kind of fun. And I think it's nice to step out of a program for once and just kind of I don't recommend it for everyone, but like, not having that structure and just being like, well, I get to the gym 4 or 5 times a week. I'm doing something. And like recently I've been getting really into just flexibility training, like really.
Yeah.
It feels good on my nervous system. It feels nice to like not feel old. It feels good to, you know, just kind of do something that's a bit quirky and wacky and um different than what I've done in the past.
I, I like that because I think when we look outside, most of the people we work with, let's say that,
Mm.
probably don't give two shits about getting a powerlifting record or definitely not going to the CrossFit Games because that's only going to be, there's other things you need to do to be able to make that happen. So it's kind of like, you see, I'm very similar to what I figured out last year for myself as well, where it's play-like. So I know I need to get stronger. So I do this, I don't even have a name. Like I call it 3 on 1 off. So the 3 days is like hitting the 3 things I love in training. Like a strength day, because I just love doing strength work. A Metcon day, because I love the idea of CrossFit, just not some of the dumb stuff they do. But I like the variety and
I
randomness
like
and
that
randomness.
concept.
Yeah, like the randomness. So I do like a Disney Metcon day where it's machine based and body weight stuff. But that's another day.
Right.
And the other day is the compromised trail runner. So I'll do those 2
Nice.
days and I'll go for a trail run where my legs are tired, mainly to make me focus on technique and slow down. And I have a day off and then I let it rip again. I can do that forever. And this is what's super interesting is like when we say to do what makes you feel good. Felt so good doing that. Felt up to play soccer. I started stewing the training cycle a bit. This is where my OCD comes in. I couldn't handle it, couldn't do the 3 on 1 off cycle as much as I could. But I couldn't get out for my trail runs because my legs weren't rebounding for the games. So I had to take the trail running out. And then over time, I eventually got injured now. And all I'm thinking about is like, look, I must get back to the game. I want to get back to the trail.
Right. Yeah.
So I think there's a way to put that out there is like, we do want to train for our thing and then progress. And you still, I believe, especially for parents, it is that entertainment kind of thing where it has to be entertaining, it has to be fun, or it's never going to stick. Like as soon as we have to use, sounds really weird because everyone tells us we need to have discipline and willpower and shit. But I'm like, as soon as you have to throw willpower at showing up to train, you're never going to do it by yourself. That's number one. Number two, you're one shit day away from dumping it.
Yeah.
Which is pretty regular when you're a kid. Kids are awesome. But
Yeah.
there's generally like, you're going to have a shit day pretty often. It's just the way it is. Like something's going to happen. They get sick, you get sick, whatever. So the entertainment piece, I lean into that so much. I'm like, you could go do all this awesome strength work. But if you actually hate strength training, let's go chase butterflies instead. That's a bit of a weird analogy, but
No, I get it. I get it. Well, like you've got to have, I think, the mentality of like, I'm doing this because it aligns with my values. You know, like we
Yeah.
don't always do things we love all the time. And like you say, not every session is going to feel awesome. Like I tell my clients, 80% of your session are going to be like dead average. And that goes because that's our life. Like 80% of our
Yeah.
life is average as. And then we remember 10% of the shit. And we remember 10% of the awesome. The wedding day, the day the kids were born, the day we got the promotion, the day like Barry bought us cake for no reason. The shit days, like when you were in hospital or when you had a car crash, like we remember the 10, but we forget that, like we can't chase the highs, just like we shouldn't chase the lows because 80% of our training is going to be like, I'm just out there doing it. I'm doing what I do, what I said I would commit to. And if you struggle to be consistent with it, it's only because you've not found something that one's enjoyable and two actually means something to you. Like
Yeah.
trail running, climbing, strength lifting, like all of it should, I believe, come from a place of being grateful to see what your body can do. Like that is what I try and impart with my clients is like, let's see what you're capable of, not just what you can look like. You're going to look in the mirror one day and be like, nice. And then what? You know, like you can train it. Whereas if you're chasing like an extra K or you're chasing butterflies or whatever it is, like and you're pushing from a place of, I want to see what I can do. The methods for that are like instant. You
Yeah.
can chase that feeling. You can chase that outcome through calisthenics, through powerlifting, through golf, through anything,
Yeah.
and it can be fun.
That's the thing. I think, like when you say there was something you mentioned a few times, like what does it look like if it was easy in the sense of like your work and stuff. My phrase of that is like, what does it look like if it was fun? And doing things like that. So if you lean into that idea, and you obviously have the filter of like, and it has to help you get to the goal. Because there's things that are fun, don't help you get there. So put that filter in. But what does it look like if it was fun? Changes the conversation so much. And I do believe in in-person training, but a lot of it is them outsourcing the motivation to the coach. That is 100% what it is, to be honest. They just got to show up. But it is also like, sort of skips that what does it look like if it was fun thing. So this is a bit of a tangent, but when people look at wanting to do stuff themselves at home, like I would never be able to train at home by myself. Like, yeah, because you're showing up to the gym to someone else who's doing it for you. You probably don't find it that fun. You're just going because you know you should. Training at home is different. You find a fun thing and do that. And you do like little micro doses of stuff to make it easier to show up for that fun thing. Like, it's just a different conversation. So, yeah, it just brought that into my head because I think we talked about it when we were working together ages ago. And I talk about it with all the coaches, like, my clients aren't showing up for the thing. I'm like, yeah, they're in front of fun. Make it fun. So, like, for the dads I work with, like, zombie apocalypse training, this is what we call it. Like,
Right.
just to try and make it something enjoyable, fun, weird, whatever you got to do to make it easy to show up. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, I think joy is like the thing that more parents, more adults just need. Like, I remember as a kid, you grow up, you talk to your grandparents, and you're like, what does it feel like to be old? And they're like, I don't feel my age. And I'm getting like, I understand that the older I get, the more I'm like, I just feel like a teenager still, but with way more responsibility. And it's easy to suck the fun out of your own life if you're not like really proactive about it. I can't even, with kids, like it must be a whole nother ball game. Like, yes, in a way you get to see life through their eyes, but also that's their life and you still need yours. And the parents that I work with, and I mean, just everyone, I said, what do you do for fun? Like, it is a non-negotiable that you get your nutrition right, you do your training, you get your sleep, but also like, how are you filling up your cup? Because if you're not filled in your life, guess what? You're going to skip training. You're going to stay up all night doom scrolling. You're going to lean into food for comfort because your life is boring. If it's not fun, like everything else gets harder. So can feel like, oh, another thing I need to make time for. But if you don't make time for fun, everything else just feels slower, harder, longer, and you get bogged down. And that's where I was last year. Like, oh shit, my life is stale. I've taken on too much I can chew and pushed way too hard here and not actually being like, oh, where's the space for Sav just to be Sav and like have fun and enjoy just for the sake of it, not because it's productive,
Yeah, I like it. Because I don't throw the word joy around a lot. The way when you said it, it just sort of hit for me too. It is literally like, yeah, it's joy. What does joy look like? And it, like what I'm doing now with the parents I work with, we have like these 3 story arcs, and it's like, get your health in place, which allows you to connect better with your relationships. And the last part is like prosperity, which for me, equal parts letting go as it is gain of wealth. That's why we talk about it in the program as prosperity, because it's once you find that joy and you're working with yourself, you feel good in yourself, and then you have a deeper connection with your partner, a deep connection with your kids, deep connection with your tribe. the wants aren't as loud anymore. They kind of go down. So you don't need as much shit to make yourself feel good because you already feel good. You got joy, which that's a really good way of looking at it. And that allows you to let go of those material kind of things that we think we need to feel good about what we want or feel good about ourselves. And you get like for me, it's calmness. It's like, if I can get enough income to do all the things I want to do and support the family, support the tribe, and it's not even that much. As soon as I hit that, I'm like, the rest of it is just funsy. Like, that's cool as long as
Yeah.
it's of service. But you have that calmness and, like you said, joy, where you just enjoy showing up every day.
Guys, plug in
That's
the
the cool
holes in the bucket before you try and pour more water in. Just plug the
Yeah.
hole. And then whether you've got drips or you've got like an overflow, the bucket will get filled up. But if the holes are like, if you got leaks, you're just chasing your tail, and calmness comes from having those holes plugged, just like the basic, Maslow, I'm going to butcher the name, the hierarchy of needs, right? Like
Yeah.
security first. And honestly, like that was something else I had to ask myself last year with like, God, what a gift it is to have to like question my existence. What a gift that my basic needs are met, that I have this like ability to philosophize and like think about other things. But it's all connected, right? Like our health, our well-being, our prosperity, connection, like they feed each other.
What a good question for her. This would be interesting, I reckon. What do you see as your holes in your bucket at the moment? It's a big question. Like, I've got a few ideas in my head already.
Um, Probably being organized with my time. I
Yeah.
feel like if I was more organized with my time, then everything else would flow a little bit easier. Like I said, I'm definitely not out of the clear. So trying to like get to a position where things do feel like they're compounding rather than being rebuilt all the time. Like I want to get to a place where things do feel a little less effortful. But yeah, the leaky bucket's probably time. And then if I'm being really vulnerable, like putting myself out there to meet new women as well. Like my social circle's small. I've always been quite my handful of friends, and being quite an introvert, that absolutely suits me fine. But I do feel this like craving for more connection, community, and being less of like just coach, girlfriend, dog mom, and just being like another girl in the group. So I think those are my leaky areas at the moment.
That's
What are yours?
Yeah, I want to touch on the community piece. So mine, leaky, my big hole, beginning of last year, and I didn't know this is what it was community falling into I keep saying tribe. People probably like roll their eyes every time I say it. A tribe of like-minded people where you can connect on that level you want to connect on. Because you got your friends that you've always had, and you can always lean on them. They're rock solid. They're good. And then I think you see it like some people need two tribes, like your long-term friends, and then a tribe of people who will elevate you to a different level for yourself, I guess, like make you think at a different level, play at a different level, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, my big leaky bucket, one big hole was tribe for a long time. Right now, it would be my leaky bucket would be journaling. At the moment, I need to get onto it because the injury is just frustrated the shit out of me. So I know I need to journal through it to just rewrite the story. And I started doing it this week. So it's the start of the new quarter. So I always realign actions to what makes me feel good. So it's like a recapture, reallocate thing. So there's that one for sure. And then also, it's the way I call it is like be the man my wife wants to date.
Right.
And it's kind
Love
of,
that.
like, yeah. And it's like, what's the proof that I'm doing that? And in my head, it's like, it's fun of putting it on her, which is not really fair. But like, she's asking me that we need to go on a date. Like, that means I'm doing the things I need to do. But my life is so busy. It's probably not going to play out that way. So I rewrote it and it's like, I'm going to book in the date and we'll go on dates together. So that's the one that I let go the last quarter. And I was like, why? What's the disconnect? What are we missing? And it was just that one-on-one time. So we had the kids are in school care these 2 days. They're on holidays, but they go in school care and Kat's off work. So we've been spending the day together, which has been cool. It was awesome yesterday and we'll do it again today. We're going to go for a big hike. So those ones have been really big. And the other one being just putting myself out there again. Like I started doing it again at the beginning of this year. This podcast was part of it. Like I was going to go back on social because I took myself away because I needed to find myself again. I was going back on socials. What does it look like? It was fun. And it was like having these combos. I was like, I could do this every day. And I was like, cool, why don't I just do that and share them as real? So I've started doing that. And then now I want to start writing again because I haven't done writing since I started the potty. So that's probably my big ones, getting back into that, which will kind of align with the journaling part. Be kind of like journaling and then writing and sort of sharing snippets of that. Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it? Like, what is the leaky bucket right now? What is the hole? And it's like, anyone listening, ask yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's a tough question, but it's a good question.
Yeah. And if you never ask the question, you never get out of it. So
Yes.
you can only improve upon that which you're aware of. You know, if you bury your head in the sand, like you just stay in the same place. So asking the hard question of like, where might I be leaking? Like, if you're not feeling there, if there exists, I don't know, like there'll be something to work on, and it might be as simple as like date night or journaling, and it's so often the simple things, you know.
That's the big thing. I like, it's always little stuff. And I am super anal with like tracking the daily wins of showing up for those things that make me feel good. And even like to the point of 5 minutes focus play with the kids. If people read that on like surface level, they'll be like, 5 minutes? That is ridiculous. But I always sort of build things of like the bare minimum. If it's like my worst day, I can still do 5 minutes playing Lego. I can still do 5 minutes on the trampoline. It's usually always ends up being more. But if I stack wins like that and track it, which is just it's a simple spreadsheet, yes, no, and I get color codes and it looks all nice with green. It just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Because it's like proof. You're showing up for the version of you want to be. Which
Yeah.
I think for people who are listening, if we lean back into this burnout idea, it's like a lot of people don't, like we said, don't know what good feels like. So they need to collect proof of some kind. So what do you, if people listening right now, what would you recommend for them to start stacking proof that then moving in the direction they want to move? Which is another loaded question. But
Well, I would answer that with like question. You know, it's like if you want to get into a better place, you figure out why you're not in a better place to begin with, and then like create systems, which I think are just filtered. So again, filter, what would it look like if it was easy? You know, and then really just reverse engineer that. Like, it's very difficult to create a goal out of nothing. It's really easy to see an outcome and then walk backward and go, well, steps to running a 10K, start with 1K, build up from there. And another question that I really liked is from Tim Ferriss. What is it? It's like, what if I just did the opposite? Which was me with my diet. So I was like, what if I did the opposite? What would come of it? Like, if you're heavy in CrossFit, what would it look like to start doing yoga? If you partying every weekend, what would it look like to do a month-long retreat? I think often reverse engineering what it is that you want can be really helpful. And then also just throwing yourself in the deep end and going, what if I just completely threw that out the way and did the opposite? Is a nice place to kind of start for yourself, because everyone is so unique. We're all going to experience, exhaustion or a lack of motivation for different reasons. And so I think having questions to ask yourself is kind of the first place. And then second place would get the accountability, get a coach, get the support, talk to your partner, share it with friends, like say, hey, I'm struggling, and just be open and honest about it, because very often people will be like, how can I help? And we're not meant to do life on our own. So share it, question. That would be my step.
I like that. How? So leads me to the next part. How or what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they're feeling like they're a bit burnt out? But look, I'm going to throw it out there. Like, and if you're female and you're feeling burnt out and you feel like your hormones are up the shit and you're maybe being done vegan or you're vegan or whatever, pretty much your experience you've gone through, how could they reach out to just sort of unpack and talk to you about it? What's the best way?
Instagram at Savannah Ashley. Would love to hear stories. I think actually sharing, because I did exactly what I just said I would do. I did that, and I shared with girlfriends, and they had gone through similar journeys. And I had one girlfriend in particular who had also been vegan specifically, struggled to conceive, and then she made all these changes. And I was like, wow, if someone else can do it, like I can do it. It's not so scary to take a leap of faith. I think that goes to anything, if you're thinking quitting your job or leaving a relationship or starting a business or, anything that feels a little bit like outside my comfort zone, is like, talk to other people. So I love stories. I don't claim to know it all for sure. Like I said, a lot of this so is based on my own personal experience. So take it with a grain of salt, take what you need, leave the rest. But if you are listening, would love to connect. Savannah Ashley, just slide into my DMs.
Yeah. And I think the fact that you're in you're in the jungle, literally walking through it, chopping shit down at the front. This is why I think this is where good coaching is, where the coach is actually in the adventure with people. They're doing the work. They're learning the tools and passing back the stuff that makes sense. So if you are struggling with burnout and just want to talk to someone about it, like I didn't go into my story of burnout, but I could do it. We could catch up again and we can do a reversey and talk about my story. And then, we'd both feed through it. So we know what it feels like, that we understand it.
Yeah.
And we can unpack it with you and sort of give you the next best steps. So I'll have the links to your socials in the show note. I'm really good at always starting off. This is really good. Like, subscribe, all those cool things. Go follow Sav on Instagram. She does some really good reels. It was actually one I was just watching before about you trying to mobilize for your leg workout, and you were talking about your ankle hurting. So it's real. Just showing people this is how I'm doing it while juggling a tool. And I think you're just really good on your reel. So they're good, educational, fun to check out. Go check them out. Like, follow, subscribe. I reckon I'll get you back on and we'll do another conversation for sure, because this is all. If there's anything you want to leave the people with, I want to wrap
I
up
just
on.
appreciate you. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to share, and I hope it's helpful to someone else. That's the main thing. Most importantly, just appreciate you and your time.
Welcome. All right, everybody. Talk to you later.